So I'm talking this whole time, and you say no sound. I'm here talking to myself. So thank you for letting me know that we have no sound. So I'm going to start over. Technical difficulties, guys. My apologies, and I'm gonna look at these messages. So see there, Jason says no sound. But yeah, big up to Tanisha for popping in. Hello, Island Ford people. A popka in the virtual building. So she's here in Orlando, in Florida. So big up Florida. And we see Errol from Naples, Florida, tuning in on LinkedIn. So guys, tell me where you're tuning in from. We want to shout you out because we really appreciate. Of course, on Instagram, they're saying they're hearing here because on Instagram, using my iPad and the mic on the iPad versus on the computer where everybody else is watching. We had my Yeti microphone, my Blue Yeti was on mute. So clearly I was not prepared. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize for that. And to start over, today's topic is going to be continuing to discuss Jamaica's COVID-19 economic recovery report. And it's clear based on the comments from last week that most people didn't know this report existed. It is available to be downloaded on the Ministry of Finance's website from Jamaica. And then most people haven't read it yet. So they don't know it exists, they haven't read it. It is very long. I think it's over 160 pages. So we're going to start diving into bits and pieces today, going forward. We tried last week, but so much stuff came up that we couldn't even dive into the actual meat of the report. Yeah, big ups Jason Scott, my cousin in Jamaica, watching LinkedIn and IG. He's on the behind the scenes as well. We got James from San Diego. Thanks for tuning in there, James. So we got James all the way on the West Coast, Canada, British Columbia, Canada, Mr. Owen Watt. I appreciate that. So come on, guys. Let's see where you're watching from. As I said, that's the topic today. Two big announcements. One, we're going to have some guests coming on over the next few weeks. One is going to be Carol Beckford, who was Jamaica's film commissioner, worked with Jampro, was also in charge of marketing and business development for the West Indies cricket team. He's going to be coming on to talk about sports and entertainment opportunities in the Caribbean region and how that can contribute to economic growth. It's important to note that, full disclosure, Carol now works with Blue Capital Partners as our senior vice president for sports and entertainment, and she's well known for her Business of Sports conference that happens every year in Jamaica. Second announcement is that, as you can see, we have different graphics. Going forward, we've decided that we need to be very clear that Blue Capital produces this show. Right, that's a company that I founded and run. We produce this show. We put it on. It's hosted on our YouTube channel and elsewhere as well. So we're going to start focusing on that. A special thanks to Jamaicans.com for also hosting the show. So Island Forward is produced by us. If you've seen our interviews since last year with Michael Leachin, the Governor of Bank of Jamaica, Richard Byles, with noted economists in Jamaica as well, in terms of those individuals. You can see that it was called Island Forward Live. That's how we started doing it. Not live, we started recording. And we have other things to record and post. So very excited. Greetings from Atlanta. So ATL in the building, Andrew Bennett. Appreciate it. Kean is always here. I asked a lot of questions last week up in Maryland, and he did actually email me, one of the people who emailed me to receive a copy of the actual report. So I sent it here on, man, I seen Garth, my good friend Garth, who hosts the Jamaican Dads podcast, is on Instagram watching from behind the scenes. So big up Kingston in the building. And then Carla Tate again is in London watching. So we got London as well. So I love this. We're crossing all these time zones. I got Kai Nika, who is also on Instagram watching from Jamaica. So let's big up the Jamaica people. Diane is saying, I'm curious about the name Blue Maho. Any ties to St. Thomas? So I like that you asked that, but it's actually not St. Thomas related. It's Jamaica related, right? The Blue Maho tree is Jamaica's national tree. And so I wanted a company that was Jamaican, but not blatantly Jamaican, especially because they're going to be investing across the Caribbean and in North America. Also, the idea behind that, and you can see our logo is actually a tree. The idea behind it is that the Blue Maho tree is one of the fastest growing trees in the world, but is also a sturdy hardwood. So we wanted to create a company that was going to be fast growing, but sturdy and be able to survive for the long term. So that was the idea. It allows us to be Jamaican without blatantly Jamaican in the name. I see Ajir Cunningham watching from St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. So we got somebody out to say best Saint is in the building. So respect. I know you're going to love the episode when we bring on Floyd Green to come and talk about agriculture in Jamaica. He's now the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, a close friend of mine. So guys, let me get rid of some of this branding. I don't need to have all of my stuff up there. There's some more comments. Where can I find a prospectus for Blue Maho if it exists? So we're not here to discuss Blue Maho in that way, guys. There's no prospectus for Blue Maho at this time. We haven't filed our S1 registration to go and do an IPO in the United States. When that happens, believe me, I will be talking about it on the show. Not happening right now. So you have to just relax. We can message me privately. We can talk some more, but not yet. And then that's true. I was thinking of the place. No, yeah. So only focus on the tree. The reason is because of the tree itself, Blue Maho, the tree. So is there a place named Blue Maho in Jamaica? I know we have Blue Lagoon in Portland, and we have Blue Hole as well on the western side of the island. But tell us, where is he watching from? I see we got 22 viewers in general on the stream, and I have another 12 behind the scenes in Instagram. So I appreciate your time, and let us dive right in. This is fun because I control most of this stuff by myself right now. So we don't need to have my name up the whole time. Let us now add this document, and we start diving into it, because I really want to make sure that as many Jamaicans as possible can learn from this and what they had put together, because I think it's really important. It was really impressive. It actually was really impressive as well. So I'm going to pull up this document now, and we're going to start going through it and understanding, where are they going with Jamaica. So this is the document. I'll scroll back up and show you the cover, so you know what the cover looks like. I see Janine on there saying, "Go David." Hi Janine in Jamaica as well. So this was the report that was released on June 30th, 2020. COVID-19 Economic Recovery Task Force under the theme Rebuild Jamaica. And the important thing is that they wanted to build back better, is what they said. We're saying the same thing here in the United States. You don't want to go back to what used to exist, because what existed was just not good enough. It wasn't working for the majority of Jamaicans, or in the case of the US, the majority of Americans. Right? We've seen progress in both countries and elsewhere, but we also can see that the progress has been very uneven. And we need to say more inclusive growth is the way that we are all talking about it in these different countries. Jamaica is no different. So this was a background, and we went through this last week. We talked about who was actually on the program as well, who contributed to this. So most important is these key findings. So this starts on page 10. And this is the one I want to really get into. Let me see what comments you guys. Belize, man, we got Belize in here. Big up Wayne. Man, Wayne used to the rally drive with me in Jamaica. So big up Wayne Piper. Been pushing for me to look at opportunities in Belize to invest. And believe me, we're going to look there. I need to big up Yaku. Yaku is watching from St. Vincent on Facebook. Yaku went to University of Miami with me. So I wear my UM pin, all about the U. Thank you very much, Yaku, for tuning in, man. This is great. So I hope other Caribbean countries can learn from what Jamaica has put together with this. There are a lot of similarities within the region, and this information doesn't just apply to Jamaica. This happens to be the one that was sent to me, and Jamaica is the core of our investment. So here are the key findings. Right? This is the most important thing. Instead of diving into the meat of it, we need to first understand why they created this, and then what were the findings that they came up with, the summary. Getting the summary is great, and then we can dig into the meat of the matter, whether we want to look at affordable housing or education. So let's start with this. And this is the most sobering analysis I've seen about the reality of Jamaica in the last few years, because they don't make it sound like everything is perfect. They admit what is going right and admit what is going wrong, admit what needs to change. So the key findings we start with. We need to embrace ambition, right? Jamaica's challenges existed pre-COVID-19. Let us remind, Jamaica's challenges existed pre-COVID-19. So they've been working on this 2030 vision. So this is the book here. This is Vision 2030 Jamaica, that most Jamaicans have never even gotten a copy or read. But we've been working on that. And so what they're saying is that they don't want to return Jamaica to a pre-COVID-19 reality. We want to go forward. And so we needed to embrace the ambition of Vision 2030 and even beyond that. And so how COVID-19 may influence the future. And they said, here's what they did from a recommended policy response. And number one, COVID would be bringing higher levels of indebtedness across the world. That's just fundamental. So because of COVID, Jamaica had already paid down debt from 147%, right? 147% debt to GDP ratio. Had the IMF deal, did two debt exchanges, two selective defaults. You had NDX and JDX. And so Jamaica has now gone down to around 96% debt to GDP ratio. So Jamaica, after what it did in the 1990s and ran up a ridiculous bill, has brought it back down below 100% for the first time in something like 3 decades. So this is great. But we're also going to have a hit with GDP. Jamaica obviously is very dependent on not just remittances, but we're very dependent on bauxite. And we're also extremely dependent on tourism, unfortunately. And that has taken a big lick. Okay, everyone says a hit is a big lick. That is a rock stone them lick us with. So that means the government had to go and spend money, just like the United States, Canada, European countries deployed capital to keep the economy afloat. You didn't want it to seize up. So it means that we're going to not get to 60% debt to GDP ratio within 3 years as expected. That's pushed out to probably 5 or 6 years. But they still focus on bringing down debt to GDP ratio. And because Jamaica had been so fiscally responsible between two different political parties, the PNP and then the JLP, didn't matter who was in power, Jamaica became fiscally responsible. And we had EPOC, the Economic Program Oversight Committee, helping to manage that process, reporting to the public on a regular basis. And so that allowed Jamaica to have cushion to then spend money to support people. We had a disaster fund that was in place. So that's number one, high levels of indebtedness. Number two, though, as you can see, is that we're going to see change in consumer patterns, right? Until a vaccine is found and much of the world is inoculated, consumers will adopt new behaviors. Obviously, the interesting thing is that consumers were already adopting new behaviors in more developed countries. When we talk about digital payments, e-commerce and online ordering, those things were becoming very commonplace. Here in the United States, you open a bank account online. You don't go into the branch and sign up for 2 hours to the things. You open a business, set up a company online. Jamaica, thankfully, does rank in the top 10 countries for opening a business. And you can do a lot of things online. But applying for the other things is a problem, right? The NIS number and TRN and so on. But that's where we're going. Digital transformation was important. This is the fourth industrial revolution, and COVID has simply forced us to acknowledge that this was the way the world was always going. Jamaica is simply late to the game and now has to play a quick catch up. So I see Tanisha posting, here's a link. If you want to see on the Ministry of Finance, it's under the documents folder. You can actually download this article. So I'm glad to put the link in here. Thank you very much, Tanisha, for sharing that. So that's important, changing consumer patterns. The digital transformation part isn't the only part, though. Obviously, we're not going to gather in groups anymore. Being able to go to concerts is going to be much harder. Live sports and being in the stands cheering, sitting inside a big restaurant and eating with people. Annual general meetings with large gatherings. Anything like that is going to change. Going to the movies is going to change. And in fact, what is old is new again, right? We used to go to the drive-in. I grew up going to the New Kingston drive-in. Some of you might have gone to the Harborview drive-in. Or if you're in other countries, you might still have drive-ins. Drive-ins are going to be a thing again. I can sit in my car and watch a movie, walk out, buy popcorn, buy a soda, and come back. But that's going to be new. So changing consumer patterns because of COVID, and they recognize that. But look at this. Consolidation and increasing market power. I haven't heard enough people talk about this one. Whenever you have economic dislocation, right? We had the financial crisis in 2008, 2009. Weaker firms end up getting bought or going bankrupt. We've seen a spate of bankruptcies here in the United States, especially in the retail industry and the restaurant industry. So that means that the companies that were already better positioned, usually larger, get even more power. There's more consolidation. There's going to be more M&A activity, more mergers and acquisitions. So there's going to be a huge opportunity for that across the Caribbean region and other areas. You're going to see Caribbean-based companies being able to buy U.S. companies or buy into U.S. companies as well because of this weakness. And we're going to see it going the other way as well. There's no question about that. Look at this one, though. Search for robust supply chains. We saw what happened when it started in in Wuhan first in China and then started expanding. A lot of international companies started scrambling because we had been raised in the business world. I did my MBA between 2001 and 2003 at University of Miami. And the big thing we always were talking about then is JIT, just in time, right? Everything was just in time manufacturing. You didn't want to have 12 weeks of products sitting in a warehouse or 8 weeks of products. You were probably looking at 2 weeks of products. So you manufacture, get it out, and then sell. And so supply chain development, you look at companies like Apple, that was crucial. But then the pandemic pretty much shut that down. It showed that in this new world, we can't have supply chains that focus on just in time. We need to go back to that original version of storing things, which benefits a country like Jamaica because of its position, having the 7th largest naturally protected harbor in the world, the 8th best performing port in the Western Hemisphere. It is available for post-Panamax vessels. They've already completed phase 2 in digging up, dredging, and they're going to move into phase 3. So this is actually going to benefit Jamaica, the supply chain side of things. And that's why I said the opportunity exists to attract new business in key sectors. The global services / BPO, logistics and manufacturing opportunities will emerge. So think about nearshoring to Jamaica rather than offshoring to India, right? Think about nearshoring storage in Jamaica. You manufacture in China, but you need to be closer to your home market to sell. So you need to sell to North America, Central and Latin America. You're going to ship from China or Vietnam or Malaysia, the Philippines, South Korea, Taiwan. You're going to ship it through the typical shipping lanes, which already works, goes through the Panama Canal. If you close your eyes, you run aground in Jamaica. So you come to Jamaica, which has some of the best port facilities, and the ship is going to come there and you break bulk. You're going to unload these large containers, right? We can carry much larger, 18,000 TEUs, 20-foot equivalent units and more can dock in Jamaica. A lot of the other ports can only handle smaller vessels. So the large one come to Jamaica. Jamaicans then unload that stuff. We warehouse it in Jamaica. We have a lot of empty space. I admit that. Factories Corporation of Jamaica is trying to get a lot of that warehouse space filled up. Jamaica does have SEZ laws, special economic zone laws, and we actually have about 119 SEZ companies now in Jamaica, between tenants and companies that build SEZs. One of them is actually publicly traded in Jamaica. So that is going to be a huge opportunity for you to do that. So read up on that. That's going to be a benefit to Jamaica. Changing working patterns. So, of course, physical distancing requirement of COVID-19 pandemic has introduced remote working and teleworking into the mainstream. So, of course, I laugh when I say that because I've been remote working for years. This is something that we've seen adopted in more developed countries for a long time. If you're in Jamaica, or if you've worked in corporate Jamaica like me, you can relate to the idea of your manager thinking you need to sit in the office and do work for 8 hours for you to actually be working. They don't think you can be out on the road getting work done or work from home. So we were stuck in a very old world mindset about where work was getting done and what work looks like. COVID forced everybody who had that old thinking to now recognize that we need to embrace remote work. We need to have more robust IT infrastructure to allow that. And guess what? You should have been working on that for the last 10 years, though. This just forced you to catch up. And the companies who are already more forward-thinking had no problem migrating, right? Not all companies can do remote work, right? Manufacturing on a line doesn't work that way. But there are many other things that can be done. And the interesting part that I don't think Americans have been thinking about, and even some Canadians, Europeans, developed countries have been embracing remote work for longer, but work from home means work from anywhere. I'm going to say that again. Work from home means work from anywhere. So if the person who is doing your accounting works for your company in the United States and can move to a different state, that person can move to another country. Barbados was the first one out the gate. Prime Minister Mia Mottley went and said, hey, we're going to create a remote work visa for 1 year that allows you to come and work in Barbados, live there for a year, and pay minimal income taxes. So you could have been working as an accountant within a firm here in the US. Pandemic hit. Work from home is now the order of the day, and you can move to Barbados for the next 6 months and work from Barbados instead. That is a huge opportunity because that's what BPO was doing. That's what business process outsourcing was doing. A lot of jobs that are held by middle class people right now in the developed world are going to get nearshored to the Caribbean and Latin America, and that's just a fact. Jamaica has the third largest naturally English-speaking population in the Western Hemisphere. We have a British education system, British legal system, fairly well-known country. People have no problem with our flight from Miami, so that is there. We also have far, far, far lower COVID cases in terms of population than Miami. Miami-Dade County has the same population as Jamaica, 2.75 million people. Jamaica is about 2.8 million. And guess what? Miami has 161,000 cases of COVID-19. That's how many it's had. For the same size population, Jamaica has had under 5,000. And so we have to keep that in mind. I seen this email. My cousin, this message came up, right? So Omaha Stevenson down in South Florida said, my cousin did that a few years ago. He worked remotely in Barbados for about 2 years. Well, I am jealous of your cousin because it meant that he was getting Mount Gay rum, he was drinking some Banks beer, and he was always hanging out at the beach because the beach is so close in Barbados. And that's not a diss to Barbados. The island is small. Jamaica is small. Barbados is smaller. But I love that the beach is that close in Barbados. I visit Barbados twice a year, at least. And Tanisha is saying access to broadband internet, especially in rural areas, is key to any remote workforce. And they're going to get into that. They actually identify that as an issue here. Tanisha also says the government is having a huge challenge balancing the tourism industry and managing to keep the population safe from COVID, ministry debating PCR requirements. So yes, that is creating an issue. But Jamaica, like St. Lucia, has had no cases of visitor to local transmission in the tourism industry. Not a single case has shown up in Jamaica or St. Lucia where a tourist has transmitted COVID, right? The visitor has transmitted COVID to the locals. They have been really good at putting in place the things required to keep people safe. That needs to be replicated at the business level elsewhere within Jamaica, right? We are seeing transmission cases because people are not practicing social distancing and washing hands and wearing masks and just following rules, right? There is a discipline issue that is there. So, of course, Omaha is laughing because I was joking about his cousin and the Banks beer. Here, Sharon saying, we have been working from home for over 10 years and been super productive. I've worked at airport, coffee shop, internet cafe, even on the beach. No problem there. So, yeah, man, Sharon, that's the future of work. You know, Carlotta is saying that she's working remotely from home as well. So a lot of us have been forced to do that. Some people never embraced it, especially old school managers from a different generation have been harder to, they didn't even like iPads, for example, right? They didn't like tablets. So that is going to come. And if you don't do that, it's innovate or die. Your company is not going to attract Gen Y and Gen Z workers because they don't expect that they need to sit in a desk in front of a computer for 8 hours to get work done because they know they don't need that. In fact, we don't even need a 40-hour work week. Right? At Blue Mohawk Capital, we have a Monday to Thursday work week. We don't have employees that work on a Friday. We don't, to the point. You're not paid for hours, you're paid for deliverables. And we need to change our mindset to focus on that. Of course, Candace saying he agreed. Cases are being managed well. People are the issue. I love that. You know, I think in Britain they would say the same thing. The UK would be like, the people are the problem. It always comes down to people, discipline. Right? And we need to work at it. We need to just admit that. But that also means that you need to put rules in place that are based on the culture and based on the people. We need to change the way people behave over time, but behavioral change is not instant. So that means you need to be smart about it. Trying to say, now that my internet speed is improving, I can really get into working from rural Jamaica. I am so socially distant, only the trees and dogs for company. Oh man, I have to admit, Sharon, boy, I hope the dog actually come at least like back and talk to you because trees don't talk. And if your trees talk to you, we have a phone number for you to go call. Omaha is saying correct about some of the other things. So let's get back into this. I definitely don't want all of the trees and dogs as my company when I'm working from home. And thankfully, that's why I do this show, right? I started doing the live show because of the pandemic. Because I'm at home right now, sitting by my living room, talking to you guys. Nobody's at home. My wife is a middle school teacher. She's at school teaching right now. Half the class is remote, half is in there. And then my kids are at school. My kids are in school, in elementary school right now, in-person class here in Orlando, Florida. So I'm home alone. And if I didn't have you guys to talk to, I would be very annoyed, is the only way to put it. So productivity versus hours worked. Exactly, Omaha. And then we have Andrew saying, I agree with the forward thinking mindset. And that's actually why this show is called Island Forward. We want people to be forward thinking, and we want to share those things with them. So of course, I say greater importance of the digital and online economy. Makes sense, but this should have been important from before. We saw the launch of the iTunes store. You might not have thought it made sense, but after 5 years, you realize that, you know what, digital distribution of content makes a lot of sense, and we can make money from that. Jamaica is especially known for producing music, right? There are other things we can do. Software is digital. When you do software development in Jamaica or Barbados, Bahamas, St. Lucia, wherever, you write the code and then you ship it, right? Each additional sale of Windows is a marginal cost. Hello. And then you have software as a service. That's even better. We look at Salesforce. So hold on. I think I'm going to get jealous of Sharon. You know? Correct. We get paid on each travel sales. So I maybe work with 2A with a client in Australia or Saudi Arabia. Wow. That's an interesting sleep pattern there. I hope you still manage to get quality rest. So let me see. Key findings, pillars of economic recovery. So in the chapters that follow, right? Literally, this thing has chapters. It's like a book. I know you guys are going to read it. Please tell me you're going to read it. It might take you a while, but you really do need to read this. If you care about Jamaica or the Caribbean and where opportunities are going to be, you need to actually read this document, right? Especially us in the Jamaica diaspora who say, oh, I never hear that this thing was happening. I never know about this sale. Or you complain about Jamaica not improving. If you don't read this document, then you can't really complain about Jamaica not improving, because it means you don't know what is actually being improved. So gain the knowledge first and then give some feedback on the stuff. So look at this. Sharon having fun talking about her remote working life, you know. I can go grocery shopping in the middle of the day and have little people to interact with. That's exactly what I do. I can walk to my supermarket, and so I walk to my supermarket around 2:00 in the afternoon if I want to, because I do want to get out of the house. So yes, I could order and have the groceries come here, but honestly, I'm alone in the days. so I walk to my supermarket. I walk 1.8 kilometers to the supermarket, and there's basically nobody around, because everybody else, for the most part, is at work or doing something else. So I agree, Sharon. You get to do things without as many people around. You get it done faster. It is less risky for us as well. So I enjoy that. And the roads are emptier. Of course, we need to build a COVID-19 resilient economy. What do they consider COVID-19 resilient? Well, they're saying that we cannot remain in curfew and lockdown indefinitely. And that is quite true. So success, therefore, is going to require building an economy that can thrive with the realities of COVID-19. This is not going away. It wasn't going away by March next year when elections are due. It is probably not going to have a vaccine that everybody can get by December of next year. We have to learn to live with the realities of this disease at this point in time. And the economy has to be redesigned and readjusted to fit within that context. Otherwise, we die. The country will end up collapsing. Countries will collapse. Here's what I say. Just knock down the Lego house and rebuild. So Nigel knows that, you know, some people, especially on Instagram, I shared some of this stuff on Twitter as well and Facebook. I've been building Lego with my family. Right? We buy Lego and then we build. So we actually, so I'm saying I must knock down the Lego house and then rebuild it if I'm at home alone bored. No man, that's too much. that is. I just buy another piece of Lego and build that, right? You'll see me post the next one soon. But that's actually how I keep myself busy. I play my Xbox and then I build Lego with the family. So the family one has been a lot of fun. Recommit to and accelerate macro fiscal reform and business climate improvement. So in simple language, they want to make the business environment much easier, simpler, and better, right? We want it to be faster. So they said there are structural imbalances that are deep-rooted within Jamaica. There's macroeconomic instability and an uncompetitive business environment that is complicated and severely lengthened, right, in Jamaica's previous attempts for economic recovery. So they admit that this is not somebody on the outside saying that Jamaica is inefficient. This is Jamaicans in Jamaica, the Minister of Finance in particular, saying that Jamaica's business environment is uncompetitive. And obviously we have inefficiencies. So they want to work on improving the business climate and boost productivity. Douglas Lorraine, who was chairman and CEO of Grace Kennedy, has written 3 articles about Jamaica's poor productivity growth compared to Trinidad and Barbados. Right? Those articles came out last year, I believe, November and December. Excellent articles for you to go and learn about. If you think Jamaica is productive, you read those articles and you get to see the comparison between Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados and their productivity growth since the 1970s on a decade-by-decade basis, with Jamaica basically being negative. Ultimately, it's crazy versus the growth we've seen in Barbados and Trinidad. But if you are a Jamaican not spend any time in Jamaica, you don't need me to tell you, or you don't need a report to tell you that we're unproductive or that we have a productivity problem. You experience it yourself every single day. That has to change, right? We need to restore tourism. I'm glad that they put that in. Tanisha say, yeah, man, homework. Yes, on this show, I give you homework. I do give you homework. And she's saying it's not just COVID. The country needs to build resiliency from any natural disaster. There's a lot of work ahead, but she's optimistic. And Tanisha is a Jamaican, of Jamaican descent. She's Jamaican. Her parents are Jamaican from the US, but she was born in Canada, lives now here in the US. So she's one of those diaspora. I don't know if you call them first generation or second generation. She's a first generation born outside of Jamaica. So to me, that is first generation. But she's a Jamaican who loves Jamaica and wants to see, just like me, wants to see things improve and get better because we believe there's opportunity in Jamaica. We believe in our fellow Jamaicans. So of course we need to restore tourism. So they said Jamaica is forecasted to experience the worst annual economic decline in at least 40 years. 40 years. Right? It's been growing for the last 25 years under different parties as well. So again, that's great. We've seen consistency of policy. But the contraction scare, that's minus 85%. Minus 85% was a contraction in March 2020. We've thankfully seen things start going back up as they slowly open. And I support that. I think this is important for it to work. And so, yes, Peter Gracie, big up the Honorable Peter Gracie saying, keep informing, love your work, brother. I appreciate that, Peter. I appreciate that. We need to get Peter on the show one day. We need to deepen local supply chains. Right, local supply chains are important in Jamaica, and I agree, especially for agriculture, entertainment, and manufactured goods to the tourism sector. One of the biggest complaints that you tend to hear about Jamaica's tourism sector is that there are not enough linkages between tourism and the local sector. Right? Jamaica has an import bill above 800 million US per year for agricultural products. A lot of that is going into tourism. They need vegetables and so on to be serving at these all-inclusive resorts and other hotels. And then we have the restaurant industry as well. Yeah, so there is a tourism linkages task force that does exist. They've been working on this for years. Adam Stewart, a close friend of mine, is the chairman of that, and they've been doing the work. So I would say that's awesome. Look at Tanisha saying, man, I hear they're building CBD resorts. Yeah, that would be great. I think that would be awesome. That would be awesome. And so let's not talk about tourism, as Jamaica is barely scratching the surface. We could be earning 1,000% more. And we get in there. Where can I contribute, Tanisha? Well, just keep sending comments and feedback. That's where you're going to contribute. Watch the show. Soon enough, Blue Mohawk Capital will be public and you can buy stock in the company, right? That's the plan. That's the vision. And we'll be investing down there. So I would say that's important. The biggest way you can contribute, though, is mentoring to Jamaicans, supporting Jamaican-owned businesses that export. So Richard Pando, he recently replied to me on Twitter. He's the CEO and managing director of Separate. It's because I was in Miami 2 weeks ago for some meetings. I spent the night at my parents in Palm Beach. And when I woke up in the morning, Mom made breakfast for me. So she did an omelette, she did toast, and I asked her if there's any butter. And Mom said, oh, I have better than butter. And then she runs off happy and comes back with a tub of chiffon. Right? We know chiffon. She have a tub of chiffon. And not even going to try to sing the theme song, right? The chiffon, you do me, chiffon baby, you do me, right? Sung by Tammy Chin when she was a little girl. But Richard commented and said, man, it gave him goosebumps reading that, because Mom was so proud that she was able to go to a supermarket in Palm Beach and find chiffon made by Seprod in Jamaica. I know it's hard for some of us to find products, right? Grace Kennedy is expanding with their products, especially their patties are now available in at least 8 states. Some of you, one of my friends, Dimitri, out in Texas, can't find it, so he needs me to buy the box of patties and then ship over to him. And I've done it once so far. That is something that we can do to contribute. We can do that. And so here's Sharon. Exactly. That is why I'm looking at farming and purveying, as well as agro processing. Things need to improve. Things do need to improve, and they are steadily improving. I want to make sure we note that they are improving. There have been improvements. So don't think that nothing now go on. Right? It is improving. Strength and resilience. So this is exactly what Tanisha was talking about. Look at it. He says, talking about natural disaster. And Jamaica does have a natural disaster fund. It had about 3 billion Jamaican dollars in there before COVID hit. So things are happening. I need you guys to realize that Jamaica has been on the right path. Things are slower than we would want it to be. In some cases, some things are more advanced than you realize. So, oh gosh, somebody telling me she in Iceland. Carlotte was saying that she got Jamaican patties in Iceland last week. Jamaican patties in Iceland. And my brethren in Texas can't get none. No, man, we need to sort that out. That need to sort out. Ken is saying I've been finding Grace products and I stopped buying the other brands and started picking up the Grace stuff. I agree. Why buying Goya and Iberia and them things? Buy Grace. Hello. Let's support our own. Let's give back to our community, our people, and see that money, those profits get reinvested back into Jamaica. And that's what I say. You do it. You should do that across the board with Caribbean brands. We need to support Caribbean brands that we see out there as well, right? Don't think, right? We keep saying no man is an island. Well, how about no island is an island? Caribbean too small. We need to be more united. But yes, buy your favorite brands. If you believe the quality is up to scratch, buy. I could have leave right now and go show you a tin of Grace Vienna sausage that I have right here, because I've been eating them off recently. So I need to go. I need to re-up. I need to restock later this week. Jesus, man, you know what? Enough people going to cuss about this one. Boost public sector efficiency and private sector competitiveness, but especially the public sector part. Right? I'm sure government workers in Jamaica are tired of being bashed every single year. It's constant, but you have to admit that our public sector feels like it's not productive. It feels extremely inefficient because we deal with this stuff. Right? Thankfully, I'll admit the Registrar General Department (RGD) been amazing. Passport Office Speaker. Amazing. So we need to be careful that we don't lump all government workers together, all public sector workers together. And we should also be mindful that public sector workers in Jamaica are the reason that Jamaica was able to get through that IMF deal and 2 debt exchanges. It required that they took a pay cut, right? Or no pay raise for 2 years, 5 years. Teachers in Jamaica, police, fire, government workers in the ministries, they've all had to take on pain that we haven't had to deal with. Their salaries are not indexed to inflation. So their salaries have been stuck for the last 5 years while inflation is happening. The dollar has been fluctuated and they get hurt. So we need to start by first saying thank you to Jamaican public sector workers for biting a bullet that allowed Jamaica to come out of a really bad financial time. And then the time will come where we need to reward them for doing that and paying that price. That is an uneven price to pay. But at the same time, we should still hold everyone accountable and say, here's what we expect, right? So it's called an SLA, a service level agreement is usually what you do when you engage another company. So if I engage your company to manage my IT infrastructure for my business, they send me an SLA to review and sign. It's a service level agreement. So I know what to expect. What should I be getting from services in terms of response within 24 hours or X, Y, and Z? I think we need to have SLAs within every single government ministry and every single government entity in Jamaica, right? Because it's just all over the place. We don't have any consistency, and so we have a problem with efficiency. So no question. Of course, we're supposed to be happy at this. Digitize and modernize Jamaica. Man, you would have thought that, I finished high school in 1996. Computers were invented a long time before that. You'd have thought by at least 2006, we would have been far more ahead on the digitization and modernization. You looked at M-Pesa in Kenya. You looked at what's now happening with WeChat and the other entities in China. You look at Japan, how far ahead they are with mobile payments, digital payments, banking. We've been behind, which is so weird because I told a lot of people this and they were shocked. It is cheaper for me to get 100 megabit per second connection in Jamaica than for me to get it here in Orlando. Right? In fact, when I could get 100 megabit per second connection at home in Jamaica from Flow years ago, before it was bought by Cable and West, I couldn't get 100 megabits here in Orlando where I live. The fastest I could get was 40. The fastest I could get was 40 megabits per second in Orlando, when the house in Jamaica could get 100 megabits per second. So somehow we leapfrogged and then we slowed down. And so we need to leapfrog again. 5G is coming out, thankfully. So I expect to see Jamaica leapfrog yet again and pretty much skip the LTE rollout. As Tanisha asking about digital currency, you definitely need to check out the video that I did with Richard Biles, the governor of Bank of Jamaica. It's on the YouTube channel, Tanisha. And we talk about that. The Bank of Jamaica has created a fintech sandbox. They've now approved, I believe, 4 companies that are in there. One of them, I introduced them to the Bank of Jamaica, and that is focused on digital currency. So that is coming. It's not a cryptocurrency. It's important to understand the difference, but it is a digital currency. It would be the equivalent of a Jamaican dollar. Other countries have already done this, though, right? The Eastern Caribbean Bank already has been implementing digital currency. Barbados is now working on that. Bahamas, Bermuda. So Jamaica is playing catch up a little, but Jamaica is there and they're testing right now. So stay tuned over the next few months as you may hear about that. Ronaldo on Instagram is asking me, what about Jamaican issued CBDC? So everybody wants to talk about cannabis, CBD. That's going to be on another show. This is probably going to be mid-October. I believe the date is October 16th. That week of October 16th, that Wednesday, we'll have the people on to talk about cannabis. CBD definitely is a big opportunity, right? It's an extract. It's one of the extracts that you would get from ganja, from weed, marijuana. Pick the name you want to call it. But I think there's a huge opportunity for Jamaica to be producing that. I know that Dr. Henry Lowe is working on something in that space as well, and I believe that he wants to take his company public and allow people to invest in that. There is one company, Toki, that is listed, a Canadian company, a Jamaican runs it, is cross-listed in Jamaica on the Toronto Stock Exchange, that is looking to do some stuff in Jamaica as well. So stay tuned. Kaya Herb House, big up. We got some stuff going. So mid-October, we're going to learn more about Jamaican issued CBD and how we can brand it. Keezy on Instagram is saying the cost of data is far cheaper in America. Well, it depends, right? My 100 megabit connection in Jamaica was cheaper than my 100 megabit connection in the United States. So I don't know if you're going to say the cost of data is cheaper. It's changed now, and so it depends on what you're getting, right? The internet connection is not necessarily cheaper in the US than Jamaica. What you want is consistency. You don't want your Wi-Fi chip out. You don't want the internet chip out. And that's the biggest difference. I shouldn't have to have Digicel and Flow to run as backups. I should just have one and not worry about downtime. So that's where we are from a phone data standpoint. I mean, if you have a postpaid plan, isn't data mostly unlimited? So I'm not sure about the cheaper part. So they say New Zealand has 39,000 civil servants. Jamaica has 100,000. Okay, Cornell. Well, then tell me, what's Jamaica's population, though? Right? I'm not sure. I mean, what's New Zealand's population? I'll have to check that to get a comparison of 39,000 versus 100,000. I look at Singapore as well. That's my measure for efficiency. You want an efficient government service? You look at Singapore. And I know for a fact that there have been Jamaican civil servants that have been sent to Singapore to go and learn more about their public service and how it's been trained. So there have been moves to improve productivity. We will see if there is rationalization of the public service. Peter is saying, what is the suggestion to fully digitize Jamaica? Also, do you think Jamaica coming with their own crypto to serve Jamaican abroad is an option to live forward? So no, I'm not a supporter on the cryptocurrency side, to be honest. I definitely support digital currencies. I think there's going to be a smoother transfer of capital that way. I don't think it has to be a cryptocurrency. It can just be a digital currency, right? There is a difference. So a cryptocurrency is a digital currency, but digital currency is a big umbrella. So there's an opportunity there. In terms, Peter, of Jamaica, as you say, fully digitized Jamaica, the biggest thing is internet, right? We need internet connectivity everywhere. Rural Jamaicans should not have to be feeling disconnected from the world. And we have that problem here in America. Rural America is fairly disconnected and often only has one choice for a broadband provider. And so they have an entity that's a government entity that's rolling out more rural broadband. Jamaica is doing the exact same thing. This is not unique to Jamaica. Countries with deep hinterland have that problem, and Jamaica is mountainous. So we have to admit that this is not something that is unique to Jamaica. We can learn from other countries, but we need more connectivity in schools, right? We already have every parish library in Jamaica that's connected thanks to the eGov program. And so that's important. Now we need every school in Jamaica to be connected, and then we need to spin out from there so that every town center has free Wi-Fi. Right? We can keep building that, and eventually want to just have a Wi-Fi net covering the whole of Jamaica. That would be awesome. So how do we pull that off? Well, that's over to Flo Didicel and Favour Williams, Minister Favour Williams, who is now going to be, well, she's Minister of Education, right? And then we have obviously Minister Darrell Vaz on the technology side. So let's see what those ministries do and come out with. And like Ronaldo is saying, we need more equity in the banking system. 100% agree. Digitalization is going to help with that. Jamaicans are afraid of the idea of their money becoming digitalized. People cannot conceive not being able to handle their own money. So I would want to be cautious about saying that, Sharon. Don't say Jamaicans and lump everybody together. Some Jamaicans, possibly a significant number, I don't know if it's a majority, but a significant enough number of Jamaicans are afraid of digitization. But what is going to happen is that you're going to get left behind. And just like when computers came out and you're afraid to do internet banking, you're afraid to use computers. I'm not saying that you didn't know how to use them. You're afraid to use them, right? We needed the training. So I'll touch on that one since we talk about it. I worked at Jamaica National Building Society. I've worked there 3 times. I worked at Jane in charge of, the last time I was there, I was in charge of e-channels and discount business. Right? I helped to design mortgage products, investment products, savings products. I was in charge of all the websites as well and social media. And I launched our internet banking platform. I was in charge of Jane Live. That's their platform. And one of the most important things we had to do with Jane Live was offer free training to the elderly clients, they're members of the building society. We offered free training, and we had to have somebody stand up at the computer. We set up terminals in all of the branches in the banking hall across Jamaica. And when you would come in, you would have a branded person at Jane Live shirt there to help you learn how to use a computer and how to do your banking on the computer. So you didn't go and stand up in the line for 2 hours. There were so many things that were not required to join a line. And we're still seeing too many lines in Jamaica, for example. But that's the kind of thing we need to do. We need to have more free adult computer literacy classes. And then what we need to do is go beyond computer literacy now. I sit on the board for the Caribbean School of Data, which is funded by Google.org. They're a nonprofit arm. That program is housed at UWI's Mona School of Business. We rolled it out starting last year. We're operating in 7 Caribbean countries, Jamaica, Dominic, Barbados, elsewhere. And the idea behind that was that we wanted to teach data literacy, not just computer literacy, but teach data literacy to unattached youth between the ages of 16 and 21. And we have a mentorship program that's now rolling out in Jamaica that I helped to design. And we're looking for more people in the diaspora to become mentors for these young people. So that is the kind of thing we need to do. We need to improve computer literacy, we need to improve data literacy, and we need to improve access to the internet. It's no different from the United States. In the US, they tend to use community colleges as a location to do those adult computer classes in the evenings. And so obviously because of COVID, that makes it harder to gather. And if you're not computer literate, we can't teach you online. Online classes don't work for people who are not computer literate. So we have to figure out a way that is safe because of social distancing that allows adults to learn computer literacy and data literacy, because the jobs that they're in going to require that. So you end up not being able to work in the 21st century and you get left behind. We need people who don't get left behind. So Tanisha, humbly appreciate the work of the public sector, but any way to encourage someone to answer the phone. Ouch. New Zealand has a population of just under 5 million, provides a myriad of services average Jamaican may only dream of. So they say New Zealand has a population of 4.886 million, and their public sector is 1/3 the size of Jamaica's public sector. So while you guys in here are going to give you a challenge, this is one I've had fun at. Go and look and see how many ministries exist for a country like New Zealand or Singapore. Put both of them, and then tell me how many ministries Jamaica have, right? So ministries, ministers, and then compare that. And I look at the Caribbean, you might be a bit shocked at the numbers and the difference. Look at this one. This for me is the single most important thing out of this report, and something we've said over and over. Diversify Jamaica's economic base. Jamaica's economic base is too primary and too narrow. And it says economic recovery should also sow the seeds of economic diversification, competitive economy, logistics, light assembly, manufacturing of medical supplies. And 2 episodes ago, we went through that. We talked about Jamaica's economy. We looked at Costa Rica. We looked at Colombia. We looked at Singapore as examples of how we could diversify. So check out that episode 2 weeks ago. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at some of the areas. But this is something they've recognized. It is too dependent on tourism, bauxite, remittances, and then agriculture. You need to expand beyond that. We need to do far more value-added things in Jamaica and have a lot more export-led economy. Of course, increase economic formalization. And we've seen estimates saying that somewhere between 40 and 50% of Jamaica's economic production, the economy is actually informal. Right? You look at the number of businesses that are not registered in Jamaica, which then made it hard for the government through their program to support people to actually give them, right? If I'm going to give you unemployment money, it means that you are employed. But for you to be employed, it would need to be a formal company that had you in the system so I could acknowledge that you were employed, you're no longer employed. Here's a check to help you. If the business is not formal, not registered, then you can't apply for that benefit, right? Jamaica does not have unemployment insurance. They're working on that now. But that's what it means. You need to formalize the business. Jamaica has too high an incidence of informality in the business. And it's partly because people don't want to get taxed, right? It was so expensive with a minimum business tax. You had so many things you have to go and get, TRN and NIS and all these things. So they're making that more efficient, thankfully. So that is improving. And mad props to the teams for working on that. But it really came down to taxation. People were sick and tired of paying taxes and then seeing corrupt politicians and corrupt government workers steal the money. Right? If I pay over taxes and expect that my roads are going to be taken care of, but the road keep having pothole and you spend twice as much money on the road as it's supposed to spend, that's going to be a problem. So then I don't want to give you my taxes. That's the difference between a country like Canada, which is a high tax country, and a country like Jamaica, which is relatively high tax, right? But you're willing to pay your taxes in Canada because they get the services they expect, and there's far less corruption and there's more transparency. That is something that we simply have to admit needs to change in Jamaica. So so Sharon was saying, I love to see those episodes with those comparisons. Cornell is saying in Jamaica, each change of government is accompanied by the creation of new sub-departments as politically associated civil servants are rewarded, and it has led to departmental spread in Jamaica. So there's no question there's departmental spread. I hope to see more of that be shrunk, and we need to see more things being shrunk and consolidated. So let's see where that goes and go from there. But that's definitely a simple fact. We soon come up on the close of this, but I'm glad we're getting through the key findings. This is the most important thing for me. So now we're saying strengthen the social safety net and pursue labor market reforms. This is crucial. I want to applaud for that one. Strengthen the social safety net. This is something that America needs to do, right? America has very poor social safety nets. You compare it to the European countries and you recognize that. You compare it to Singapore, poor social safety net. Canada has a great social safety net. So Jamaica wants to focus on that. We need to make sure that the base of the pyramid is also taken care of. So strengthen social safety nets. That's going to be great. But of course, we also need to pursue labor market reforms. Talk to any business person doing business in Jamaica or looking at doing business in Jamaica compared to other countries, and they're going to bring up labor market reforms. You look at the IDT, that's a disputes tribunal in Jamaica, archaic, right? Jamaica's labor laws are from like the 1940s. We've barely seen updates to it. So our labor market and the laws need to reflect the 21st century economy. We need to be forward thinking. That needs to be a high priority over the next 5 years to change. It has to change. Otherwise, businesses will keep setting up in St. Lucia or elsewhere because of the labor issues in Jamaica. So that has to change. We need to make sure that labor is treated fairly. I'm a fan of the German system and the way they deal with labor. I lived in Berlin for 3 months, and I was really impressed with the way they approach that. So I think that is actually a really good case study for Jamaica to follow from a labor reform standpoint. We need to increase the government of Jamaica's technical resource capacity. So I like this one. Project management, IT, financial. They've continued working on this. They're upgrading people's skills. That's great. Instagram is counting down for the 1 hour and we'll shut down. So we're going to say bye to Instagram. And this is really it. So next week we're going to look at 5.0, chapter 5, COVID-19 economic shock, its impact and the task of recovery. But at least now we know the areas that they've identified as really important for Jamaica to look at. And I think this applies to a lot of Caribbean countries. So guys, we're closing this. I am really appreciative of your time. I know you don't have to come here and watch this for the 1 hour when you're watching live. For those of you who watch afterwards, thank you, Tanisha, for commenting. Anybody that wanted to say something, shout out somebody, right? Greetings, send greetings. But I really appreciate this. I look forward to the next few months of doing more of this, bringing on other people onto the show. Look at Cornell. Cornell, they've been saying a lot, and I appreciate this. Cornell is on Instagram. So he's one of the most active people I've seen come to us from Instagram. But I'm saying snap. I was about to say Jamaica could model the social safety net of the German system. So you know what? I'm going give 2 snaps for that one. I've seen some people doing that. I like to pretend that I'm cool sometimes. Don't worry about the gray hair. I still feel young. But thank you very much for your time. I appreciate all of you who take the time out of your day to watch this, to share clips with people, to send feedback, send ideas, and who truly want to see a better Caribbean, a better Jamaica. And I look forward to that, right? Just because some of us have moved from Jamaica doesn't mean that we left Jamaica. It's 2 different things, right? Living somewhere doesn't prevent us from still caring about home. This feels like home for many of us. So Andrew, thank you for tuning as well. Great insight. You're learning a lot. And I appreciate this. This hopefully is faster than you reading a 167-page document or reading everything I read. I will break it down for you. I'll share it here, make sure that what I know you get to know, what Blue Maho Capital is doing, what we see as opportunities, you guys get to see as well. That's how I see us working together and being united. The vision I have for Jamaica cannot be accomplished by one person. We need to focus on being a team, right? One hand can't clap. That's what I keep saying to people. So we need to be doing this together. Omar, thank you so much. Once again, shout out to Jamaicans.com. I appreciate being our media partner and allowing us to leverage your platform as well as what else we're doing. Diane, truly building awareness. Yeah, man, I love it. I appreciate it. Big up everybody. Shout out especially to Iceland, man. We're checking in from Iceland. Sharon, man, you gave us the jokes of the day. So Sharon, you better come back next week. Please be careful of how much time you spend sitting down talking to your trees. I don't mind you talking with the dog. Don't talk to the trees too much. And if the trees ever talk back to you, please, call a phone number and make that get sorted out. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. Next week, tune in. We're going to follow up on chapter 5. And I'm giving you homework. Please go and read chapter 5. How about that? Read chapter 5 and then we can discuss chapter 5 next week. I want to see some comments about it next week. Big up Wayne Piper, Jamaican out in Belize. I appreciate the insightful dialogue. I'll try to take time to catch up on the past videos, tune in for future ones. So really appreciate this, guys. I appreciate the support. I cannot say, I hope it shows on my face that I genuinely appreciate this. I am not owed your time. I am not owed any of this. And so I just wanted to say thanks. Stay safe. Errol, big up. Share my email again. I love it. All right, so I was prepared for you this time. This is my email address. You can email me, david@bluemahocapital.com. I'll close off with, this is my title, this is my name, and you can find the company at bluemahocapital.com. Happy to keep sharing with people and just really want to make sure that all of us recognize that there is opportunity even in crisis. So don't sleep on Jamaica, don't sleep on the Caribbean. Tuning out now, I'm going to say one love to everybody. Sell off later.